from Matthew 13:31 through 32. He put before them another parable. The kingdom of heaven is like a mustard seed that someone took and sowed in his field. It is the smallest of all the seeds, but when it has grown, it is the greatest of shrubs and becomes a tree, so that the birds of the air come and make nests in its branches. This is the reading of the word. Thanks be to God. We hear this, right? And that is not the parable of the mustard seed that we think of. Because like I told the kids, we think of mustard seeds move mountains. Right? Because both of those scriptures are found in Matthew. In fact, Matthew is the Matthew's the only gospel that says, because you have so little faith, truly I tell you, if you have faith as small as a mustard seed, you can say to this mountain, move from here to there, and it will move. Nothing will be impossible for you. That's Matthew 17:20. And how many of us love that verse? If you don't, you failed today. That verse is an assurance that the smallest of seeds can do wonderful and amazing things. But like I told the kids, you might need a shovel. No, I'm not digging into the platform here. But we sometimes rest in this thought that those small seeds of faith are just there. And they grow and they do wonderful and amazing things, and it's all to the glory of God. And it is. But in order for faith to move mountains, sometimes we must have a hand in holding on to the shovel and digging in the dirt. And I don't know about you all, but every time my hand hits a shovel, I get a blister. And it hurts. And I sometimes go, do I still have to move this? Isn't that enough? The other part of this parable of faith and believing and understanding is that too often we allow the smallest of seeds to not be of faith. To not let those small seeds of faith grow into the greatest of trees. We allow those small seeds to be that of doubt. That's not a comfortable realization. Because this parable does not say anything about faith. It's a 2-verse parable. And it says the kingdom of heaven looks like this. If we allow it to grow. That's part of the difficulty, I think, of our lives, is so often we confuse the kingdom of heaven and what it looks like. We allow those seeds of doubt to be sown and growing into that example. We don't let it be seeds of faith. Because doubt's easier, right? Doubt's reality. Doubt says, generally true. But as a person of faith, you can't rest in the A plus B equals C mentality. Sometimes you have to say, well, guess what? It's going to grow into the greatest, most amazing, and wonderful thing that I could ever imagine. Something that I can't even contemplate when I look at that small little dot of a seed. Faith is hard, though. Faith is difficult because it starts so small. I mean, hold out your hand and look in the center of your hand, and that is the small little dot of faith. I'm not going to make you put a mark on it. I figured I'd start marking the kids' hands, and then I knew the looks that I would get. Smaller than the center of your hand, is that the kernel of faith and how it begins? Yes. Jesus uses example after example of seeds. This is our third Sunday on seeds, y'all. We talked about the sower in the field, the parable of the vineyard, and now the mustard seed. And perhaps it's because we all know that though it starts small, it can do great and amazing things. I mean, I like to eat seeds start that. That little kernel of an idea. It all starts somewhere. And so as people of faith, we hear this, and we hear it, but do we know it? Perhaps that's the hardest part of this parable. It's not that we can't picture the size of the seed. It's not that we can't see it as it grows and understand that it begins small and becomes great things. It's the in-between time. The time from the planting to the full manifestation of growth. You see, we as people of faith live in the in-between time. One of my favorite images of the in-between time is the dash that you see on a headstone. Have you ever considered what that means? If you've not read, there's several stories that are out there, but from beginning to end, there's a dash in between. That's where we live as people of faith. That's what this parable is talking about. It talks about the beginning. From when our faith begins, as small as a mustard seed, as small as a kernel, of when it begins from childhood to adulthood, whenever, wherever. And then how it manifests itself to us being part of the kingdom of heaven. There's a time in between, though. And that's where faith lives. The time in between. The times that challenge us. The times that make us question. Cry out, say, God, what am I doing? How am I doing this? It's the times in between that say, when you have so little faith, might be. It doesn't start in the size of a great big tree. It starts in a seed. And it takes planting and watering and nourishment. It might be the baptismal waters that we have to recall to ourselves Sunday in and Sunday out. It might be the food that we eat in the communion bread and cup each week, or the nourishment of reading in our scriptures, the bread of the Word. But that in between time from the seed's beginning to the seed's fruition is important. For if the kingdom of heaven is like a mustard seed, the smallest of seeds, and it grows into the greatest of shrubs, and what are we as people of faith? We're much bigger than seeds. Much greater than a shrub, I would hope. If birds are landing on you, I'm sorry. We as people of faith hear this parable and have to wonder where our part is in it. Because Jesus told a lot of parables. This is one in a quick line of succession. He goes from mustard seeds to yeast to pearls, all very quickly. And as I said, it's not until later when you hear how a mustard seed can do so much, how we can do so much with so little. But when you look at a mustard seed, that's not the vision that you have, is it? We don't always know what's going to happen when we plant that seed. But as people of faith, and that's the crux, as people of faith, we must in some way tangibly put our trust in the fact that the smallest of seeds will grow. It might not be today. I know when I was a child, we all have done it. You get that styrofoam cup of dirt with grass seeds in it. I must have received that in like first grade. It was amazing. And every single day, I would pull it off the windowsill and look. If you've never experienced the joy in watching grass grow, you are missing out. But I would look in that styrofoam cup, hoping and praying to see the little shoot come up. For some of us, we get great joy when we see the tulips finally start sprouting their lovely heads around the trees, or the daffodils. Who does not love the daffodil field? If only for cute pictures with your family. But it all begins somewhere. And we get excited when we see it beginning to bear fruit. And perhaps that is the entirety of what this parable is about. It is not just the size of the seed and how big it grows. It is the fact that as people of faith, when we see the progress of faith in action, and and growing and changing and seeing it, we get excited. And that wants us, that makes us hopefully. That was not coming out right, y'all. Sorry, I got excited. At that point, we hope then to plant more. Because we've seen the growth. We know it's growing. And as people of faith, when we see things growing, we're like, woo! Let's plant more. Let's grow more. It's a beautiful thing. And it starts so